Meanwhile, looks like the fight for democracy in Iran is here to stay. The end of December brought with it some of the worst bloodshed at protests against this regime since the country's June elections. But is President Obama taking a strong enough stance, or should the administration be doing more?
Well, joining us with an insider's perspective is journalist Lisa Daftari. She's constantly in touch with the Iranian people, and especially a lot of people involved in this, what's being called the Green Movement, the youth movement there in Iran. Lisa, nice to see you this morning. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
A lot of concerns this morning about this insurgency there. A lot of people saying, look, because it really doesn't have a face, how potent is this insurgency, and should the United States be doing anything to help it, to help the cause along? Is there anything we can do?
Well, the insurgency is actually pretty strong, and I think the mistake that a lot of us make is that because it's not maybe in the headlines every day, or we don't hear about the demonstrations every day, that it is not as strong as it is. Like any significant movement, it's going to ebb and flow, and actually we do hear that there are demonstrations, or not demonstrations, but people going out on their balconies or out their windows and screaming slogans every single night. And this has been going on, and while there might not be as many people on the ground as there was in June, we see in so many ways that the movement is actually radicalized in so many ways. It's more widespread. It's in more cities. It covers more of the Iranian population. There's more of a religious variance in the protesters as well. And with regards to whether or not we're doing, if Washington's giving them the support that they need, it's not that they're giving them the support that they need, or they're not. Their agenda completely differs with that of the Iranian people, and they're actually in some ways getting in the way of what the Iranian people want and are doing.
On occasion, we get an image like the one we just saw on the camera of graphic things happening there. And again, this is a protest of the current regime, Ahmadinejad. But tell us what you hear is actually going on there versus what is being reported. How deadly have these protests turned?
They've been brutal. I think the first thing that most people I interview tell me is it's much worse than you think. It's much worse than you think. They're cracking down. All the people that were rounded up with the last round of demonstrations are being called enemies of God because they disrespected a regime that is mandated by God, in the words of this regime, and are punishable by death. So we're looking at the consequences are so high, but despite that, the Iranian people are more radicalized than ever to go out and make a difference. And that says so much about what this movement has turned into.
One of the big problems, of course, as you know, is our inability to get any information on the ground from Iran. I mean, very little of the reporting is coming from inside Iran, and it's amazing that you're able to speak to these people there. I mean, they go out there, they put their lives on the line. Do you think that the government is doing a good job of trying to crack down and break the opposition, or do you think that the opposition is only going to get larger as a result of the crackdown?
I think in the past 30 years, what we've seen in Iran is they try to shove religion down their throats. We see a nation of many, many secularized Iranians. They try to take the journalism of the media away from them, and we see a nation of Twitters and YouTube videos and citizen journalists everywhere. So I think what we've seen in the past is every time this regime tries to crack down and to stop something, more things sprout up and more people are out there. And I speak to people who say there are actually so many anti-riot forces, Revolutionary Guard members, besieging militiamen interwoven into the population. So you don't know if your neighbor is one of these informants, or if you scream out the window, someone will say, I heard someone out that window, or I heard someone down that street on that corner say something. And it's that dangerous, but people are still taking the risk to get the word out there.
Well, we're being told as many as 80 protesters have been killed. Hopefully, President Obama can offer some support to the people of Iran. Lisa Daftari, we appreciate the information this morning. Thanks for being here.